Rational exponents. A rational exponent is another name for fractional exponents. And we'll use those a good bit this year because they're easier to work with than radicals because the properties of exponents apply to fractional exponents. So the first thing let's learn to convert to a rational exponent. So once again, these are the different parts of the radical: the radicand, the index, and the radical sign. What's key here is this index, because the index of the radical is the denominator of the fractional exponent. Let me say that again. The index of the radical is the denominator of the fractional exponent. I'll circle them both in yellow. And one thing I'll do here is I will put the radicand in parentheses here, and then think all that quantity is there one time. So we've got 2x squared to the 1/3 power. So let me highlight that one. There we go. So one more time, the index of the radical is the denominator of the fractional exponent. So we've just converted that to a rational exponent. Remember, fractional, rational, they're synonyms. So if we have 2x squared, the quantity to the 1/3, then we could apply the power to power rule for exponents and then rewrite this as 2 to the 1/3 and then x to the 2 times 1/3, 2/3 power. So we just converted to a rational exponent. We'll use these quite a bit. Let's look at just a couple of examples in this short video. So 64th to the 1/2 power. So here we have the fractional exponents, and sometimes it may be useful to go back to a radical when we're asked to simplify. So if the denominator of the fractional exponent is the index of the radical, what we're looking at here is a square root of 64 to the 1st power. Now it's really not necessary to put that 1st power, but I wanted you to see both of them. So the square root of 64 is just 8. And of course, when we're simplifying, all we're going to consider are the positive principal roots in terms of a square root. 125 to the 2/3. So the denominator of the fractional exponent is the index of the radical. So please check this out. There's two different ways that I can write this. I can write this as the cube root of 125 squared, or I can rewrite this as the cube root of 125, the quantity squared. This particular 2 can go under the radical or outside the radical. It doesn't matter. They both mean the same thing. And how do you know which way to write it? Well, I would not want to square 125. I would prefer to first take the cube root, then square it. Hopefully you know that the cube root of 125 is 5. And how would you do this? Oh, let's finish this one. And because we want to raise that now to the 2nd power, it would be 25 for the final simplification. How would you do this on your calculator? Well, your calculator, it's going to look like this. You're going to use the exponent key here. So 125 raised to the 2/3 power, and that is going to give us 25. So that's how you can do it on your calculator using the power key and then just entering a fraction. Let's do number 3. This is 27 to the negative 1/3. We learned in subsequent videos that negative exponents indicate reciprocals. So I'm going to first rewrite this as 1 over negative 27 to the positive 1/3. When we flip or reciprocate that base to the bottom of the fraction, our exponent is now positive, and we only want positive exponents. The 1/3 power, of course, is the same as the cube root. So 1/3 power, exactly the same as the cube root. The 1/2 power was the same thing as the square root, and I will use them interchangeably as we go through the year. So we've got the 1/3 power, it's the same as the cube root. Now this is the cube root of -27, so our answer will be 1 over -3. Why? Because -3 times -3 times -3 is where we get -27. Number 4, last problem for this video. In this particular problem, we have a base of 8. And if we have a base of x, and if the base is the same and we are multiplying, all we're going to do here is add those exponents. So I would come to my handy dandy calculator rather than having the need to find a common denominator. So what is 1/3 plus 2/5 plus, or I should say minus 1/2. Add those all together. You're going to get this decimal. If you don't know how to go from a decimal to a fraction on your TI-84, all you have to do is hit math and then hit enter, and it will change it to a fraction for you. X to the 7/30. Another way that you can use your TI-84 to add fractions is to use the fraction option, which can be found by hitting alpha F1. Alpha F1 brings up a fraction that's ready to be filled in, 1/3 plus, and then 2/5 alpha F1, and then we've got 2/5, and then finally minus 1/2, so alpha F1, 1/2. So this is another way that you can enter in fractions, and then you're going to immediately get the fractional answer of 7/30. So there we go. Fractional exponents behave just like regular exponents. The properties of exponents also apply to fractional exponents as well. We'll see more of those in our homework assignment.